everyone, and welcome to In the Studio. I'm Lin Weaver, and the program is brought to you by Davis Media Access and is broadcast over Davis Community Television. That's Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T UVerse Menu 99. We're also online at dctv.davismedia.org. Well, today we're going to talk about understanding compassion, or a man's quest to delve into the understanding of compassion and what it means to different people and to himself. And that man is David Breaux, a Stanford graduate and the co-author of the book Compassion Davis, California, which is an original compilation of over 3,000 entries collected at random from passersby in Davis at the corner of C and 3rd Streets. And David, thank you so much and welcome to the show. And now I'm going to show a couple of photographs, the Compassion Corner and the Compassion Bench in Davis. And there's the Compassion Bench, and it is very striking. I'm sure you remember seeing it near the farmers market. And this is the corner of C and 3rd Street, where David stands and surveys and collects reactions from passersby. Now, David, again, thank you so much for sparing the time and being on the show. And there's a first question for you. Is every human being capable of compassion?
Yes, I believe that everyone is capable of compassion. I believe that there are very few exceptions. Scientifically, it's been said that sociopaths are unable to empathize. Other than that, there is something ingrained in every single human being that enables him or her to be compassionate. And it's a matter of recognizing what that is, bringing it to the forefront of one's mindset, and when needed, to act upon that.
You know, it's very interesting because I read in some of your blogs that you are still, in a way, trying to find the best definition in your heart for compassion. Mm-hmm. So how would you define compassion? And again, this is probably going to change again, but can you give us an idea of what compassion is for you?
Yes, I'm learning through the process of what I do. Over the last 4 years, I've evolved. The definition of compassion that I have has evolved. Currently, I believe it to be recognizing essence, that everything has an essence to itself. And the act of recognizing that leads to a compassionate act. For example, the essence of being human means that we need food. And when you come to think of it, our food is provided for through the interconnectedness of all the factors that allow us to actually eat. The person that plants the seed, the person that harvests the food, the person that brings it to the supermarket, the cashier. All these things bring about a specific event, a compassionate event of us being able to actually eat. So the recognition of the essence of being human leads to a compassionate act. And there are various levels of perception that one can go through as far as the consciousness, the state of consciousness that one is at, to determine what that essence is for him or herself.
Would you say compassion is pity?
No. Pity is an unequal, non-mutual act in which the equilibrium of give and take isn't there. Another example is if I'm offered something say for instance, food again, and I choose to be a vegetarian, and someone out of generosity offers me a hamburger, that's pity. Without the mutual understanding of what I need, and without the communication that's needed before the act of generosity is given, that's what pity is. I believe compassion to be a mutual understanding between both parties. And there are exceptions between a parent and a child, a young child, between someone who is trying to save someone who is unconscious. There are exceptions. I believe for the most part that compassion is a mutual understanding between both parties, individuals or on a larger scale, communities, states, countries, nations.
It's very interesting. Well, you have graciously agreed to read for us some quotes or some excerpts from your book, The Compassion, Davis, California. Would you like to share some of, and again, as a reminder to the viewer, this book is a compilation of original entries, basically written, chosen or collected at random from passersby, friends perhaps too, asking them to define compassion and what it means for them. So please start. I'm looking forward to hearing some of these excerpts.
Compassion, something that exists within us all, but that we forget in the face of anger and challenge, and with those different from ourselves. Having it must be what heaven is like. Compassion means to take the time to put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel the world through their lens. To demonstrate through actions and words a broader perspective of care and consideration for people, surroundings, and beings. One of the reasons I chose this one is because of the words, a broader perspective. I believe that it's easy to love your friends, it's easy to love your family. The challenge comes when we must love our enemy, when we must broaden our perspective in order to understand, have that mutual understanding between ourselves and the other. That takes time and a lot of focused energy and a lot of discipline in which we forget about ourselves for a minute and put ourselves in the position of another person or another country in which we realize the commonality rather than the difference.
It's very interesting, irrespective of the other person's taste, culture, background, and so on. And you mentioned that it's difficult to achieve, and I imagine that that requires a lot of experience and a lot of education, perhaps, in people's differences. So it is very interesting, yes, because it is, as you said, to feel compassionate towards people you know and you love. Yeah. Something else? Sorry.
Well, when you love the people that you're around, they've educated you because of that interaction with them. So you know them already. And that same time and that same energy that you've taken in order to love either yourself, your friends, and your family, it can be done with what one can consider to be his or her enemy. To take that same energy and simply switch it and say, I'm going to take this now and go and learn about this person who I think is trying to hurt me, and establish an understanding and say, this is why this is happening. And now that we understand it, we can do something about it.
Interesting. One more?
Yes, one more.
Several more, I hope.
Well, there's 3,000 in here, so we'll see. Compassion to me is to have unconditional love and understanding of one another and all perspectives. Compassion involves keeping the best interests of all people, animals, and the environment in the forefront of our thinking. This is vital for living in a world where we are all in such close contact with one another. If we all treated each other how we wanted to be treated, then the world would be a significantly better place. And again, I chose this one because we are in close contact with one another. I think more so at any time in human history, we are connected through social media, through the juxtaposition of communities. The growth of communities has made us closer physically. And I believe that because of that, there is even more of a need for compassion, because there's physically now a contact point between people, or thousands of years ago that wasn't possible.
We travel a lot more
Yes,
to
yes.
foreign countries. Would you say compassion is tolerance?
When I hear the word tolerance, I think that I think about the idea of, again, a non-mutual relationship in which I'm right, so I'm going to tolerate what you're doing, rather than accept it and say, I understand it fully. It's one step less from understanding and accepting. I think tolerance is saying you're wrong and I'm going to accept that you're wrong, rather than say I'm going to do the best I can, take the most time and energy that I can in order to understand where you're coming from as a human being.
Do you have one more for us?
Yes.
Or a couple of more?
Yes, yes. My personal definition of compassion is empathy, strong feeling for, or great understanding for another. Compassion is caring enough about a person or thing to look past their faults or indiscretions. It means to care for someone. And I chose this one because of looking past their faults. I believe that most people are experiencing some type of dormant psychological pain, which causes faults, which causes them to lash out, which causes them to be angry, resentful. And so when a situation arises in which there's conflict, that is what is being brought to the table rather by a person in pain. Compassion recognizes that, and compassion moves past that to the point where, because of that simple recognition, again, recognizing the essence of the person. The essence of the person is not their pain. The essence of the person is their love, is their unconditional love. If you reflect that to that person is likely to recognize that. And it changes the whole energy of the situation, in which both parties are relating to one another at a different energy level. That's more positive, that's more productive, that's constructive rather than destructive, and it moves into a space of peace.
You speak as though you have personally experienced many of the facets of compassion. Is that true?
Yes, yes.
To talk about the book, this book, by the way, would you like to show it? This book is available if you're interested in purchasing it. And also, if you want to know more about David's ideas and writings, you can go to his website, which is compassionis.org. Compassionis.com. And how was the book received? How was your feedback?
Incredible.
What do you mean by incredible?
Incredible. printed out copies, and I'd stand at the corner. And the first few months, I received a lot of positive remarks about it. I still am selling copies of it, maybe on average 4 or 5 a week. I just reached the 800 distributed copies mark. So there are now 800 copies out there in the world where people are finding them and reading them. There's one thing that I did was to put some of the damaged copies on a book crossing website in which I have them planted somewhere and people can pick them up. There's an ID number and they can go, and if they find it somewhere, say like the Grand Canyon or some other national parks where I've had people leave them there, they can pick it up, put the ID number in, and then say this is where I found it. So I've gotten that feedback. So
you had very, very good and very a lot of interest in the book.
Yes, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Are you planning to compile more? Are you thinking, what are your current projects, or what are you hoping to achieve in the next year or so?
Within the next year, there will be compassion ambassadors. These are people who, in different communities worldwide, will be asking people to share their concept of compassion in different places. That's starting, the foundation for that is being started. The other aspect of an initiative that I'm putting together is to create more monuments to compassion, whether it be modeled after the earth bench that was built here, or something that is determined by the community in which that wants to build the compassion bench. As far as another book, there's content for another book. A lot of suggestions from people that they wanted to hear my own voice in the next book. And so what I started to do was document some of the events that happened to me because of what I do at the corner.
Yes.
Some of the anecdotes, some of the stories. At the corner, then also outside of the corner, throughout Davis. A lot of people come up and speak to me, and there's a lot of very serendipitous sort of anecdotal stories that are there. So I
jot them down.
I jotted them down,
yeah.
and there's content there,
Yeah.
and there's a lot going on at the moment, and I would just need to get to it when the time comes.
Yes, well, that will keep us in the loop, because I certainly would like to know more about what you're doing. So, but going back to what brought you to your quest for compassion, you mentioned in one of your writings that one person who inspired you was Karen Armstrong. She's a former nun. I believe she's from the UK, and since she's left the order, she has written something like 20 books on religion, but not just the Catholic religion, but all religions in the world. And she's also advocating the creation of a charter of compassion. And you mentioned that she inspired you. When did you have the opportunity to listen to her or to read some of her writings?
I was influenced by her in early 2009 after watching the TED Talk about her.
Yes, it's a wonderful TED Talk.
Yes.
And
yes.
actually she received a prize for
Yes.
that talk, yes.
In 2008 she received her wish. She got her wish granted, and she started the Charter for Compassion.
And I believe several well-known people have signed it,
yes,
including
yes.
Desmond Tutu, the Archbishop of South Africa, and other people. So that is quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yes, on her part, yes.
And the reason why, so I would like to ask you, why did Karen's words inspire you? What particular part of her words talked to your soul, if you wish?
I think it was a self-discovery of what I initially wanted to find out for myself, what compassion is for myself.
After you left college?
It was a while after I left college.
Yes.
I graduated from college in 1998, and this happened in 2009. So it was a little while afterwards.
Yes.
After watching the video, I got a pen and a notepad and tried to come up with my own definition of compassion, and was dissatisfied with it. So I went around the community of Oakland at the time to try to come up with a collective definition. And through doing that, found a very positive energy being created.
Within you.
Within myself and within the engagement with others and with others. A lot of the conversations that I have now were some of the same conversations I had then, as far as what people had to say, the gratitude people had to share just from a 5 or 10 minute conversation about talking about compassion. And I decided to make it a lifelong endeavor, and I sort of gave away a lot of things and gave up a lot of ways of thinking and decided to make it a lifelong endeavor, and started that June 3rd, 2009.
What a beginning. Compassion to me is empathy, thinking of the others before you think of yourself, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, if you like, or mind. And then I started thinking, it seems to me that ego and compassion jostles to victory, to try and one against the other. So what I'm asking you is that true? Is it true you can remain self-centered and in a way egotistic in a good way, and at the same time be compassionate?
At its core, I believe it's how one defines who and what one's self is. If one believes that they are separate from another person, then yes, it is an ego and another, in which there's less of a chance of a compassionate act happening. If one believes in a singularity, then there's no distinction between who I am and who you are. And so the more self-compassion I have for myself, it affects you in a positive way. At the same time, personally, I believe that compassion should always be extended outward. If I save all the compassion for myself, that really does the world no good. If I extend it to those that are in need, if I'm able to help myself and I see someone else in need, I'm obliged to help that other person or that other community, in a sense where I must do it. If I have a true understanding of compassion, I must do it.
Do you think compassion, the way we see it in the 21st century, is a modern concept, or has compassion always existed in some form or another?
I think it goes back way to
the beginning of time?
Cro-Magnon people, one person helping another injured Cro-Magnon person, or there's research at UC Berkeley with the Greater Good Science Center, in which they sort of look at primates and how they help one another. And I think the same could be said for human history. One of the examples is simple, that as people were walking along a path, if someone were to hold a tree branch for the person behind them, that's a compassionate act. Simple things. I think it goes back far, as far as, and also one
Good to know.
one of the other things, the Dalai Lama refers to this, that a mother taking care of a child needs to take care of her child because as human beings, we are incapable of taking care of ourselves up until the age of 50. Joke. And so because of that, there is parents must take care of their offspring as opposed to some other species that don't. And since we've always had to take care of our offspring, that can validate the fact that historically human beings have always had a need to be compassionate.
Fair enough. Now, do you think religious people are more compassionate than others? And I'm speaking about all religions in the world. I don't know a lot of religions, but I imagine that you've studied quite a bit. Would you say that people who believe in a higher being are more compassionate?
I believe compassion transcends religion. I believe it's innately human, and even transcends being human. You can say that animals have a sense of compassion. I'm sure those that have pets can say there's been moments in their lives where their pet has shown them compassion. And I wouldn't say that one is able to say that their dog is Buddhist or the dog is Christian, unless they practice the Buddhism or the
Can you
Christianity.
teach compassion?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Compassion can be taught. One can be taught how to recognize the essence of themselves first and foremost. And I think it's through a quiet place inside the heart in which you go within to recognize who you are first and foremost. And secondly, what am I doing with that knowledge of knowing who I am? What am I doing? And in those quiet places, when the need arises, again, to help someone, to help yourself or to help someone else, it leads to a compassionate act.
I understand. Well, I'm afraid we're just about out of time. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to quickly comment upon?
I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Extend my gratitude towards you for this moment.
Thank you very much, David.
Welcome.
It's great. I'm fascinated by your quest, and I wish you the best of luck for your future. And keep in touch, because I might have you again on the show. So thank you so much, all of you, for watching. And of course, a very big shout out to our prodigious technical crew, as usual. And you've been watching in the studio. If you'd like to see this program again, you can go to our website, dctv.davismedia.org. And while you're there, you might want to check some of our other very interesting programs. So I am Lin Weaver. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again.